Eminent clergy, First Lady, Vice President and Second Lady, Chief Justice, Prime Minister of the Government of the Republic of Barbados, and members of the Beijing delegation, members of the Council of State, the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President and officials of the Presidency, Central Regional Minister, Ministers and Deputy Ministers of State, Members of Parliament, Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives, Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Inspector General of Police, Service Chiefs, Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps, President and members of the Central Regional House of Chiefs, Omahini of Ogwe Traditional Area and other traditional rulers, residents of Cape Coast, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks the 65th anniversary of our nation's independence, and it is wholly appropriate that we should gather in this historic city of our country to commemorate this special day when 65 years ago at midnight on 6 March 1957, our dynamic leader, our first president, the celebrated Kwame Nkrumah, proclaimed at the old Polo Grounds in Accra the immemorial words, "Ghana, your beloved country, is free, free forever." I must at the outset thank the children from the schools drawn from across the municipality for their excellent march, the cultural troops for their magnificent performance, which has showcased many of the elements of the best elements of Ghanaian culture, and the officers, men and women of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service and the other security services for their splendid display of order, pomp and pageantry. It has been a grand spectacle, and I'm glad that I've been able to bring our distinguished guest of honor, one of the great figures of the Caribbean politics, the Prime Minister of the Government of the Republic of Barbados, Her Excellency Mia Amon Motley, QC, to witness this for herself. Madam, this is your second visit to Ghana in 3 years, and I say once again, a big warm Akwaba, our world of welcome to you and to your delegation. Whilst welcoming you, I also congratulate you on your spectacular victory in the recent general elections in your country, where for the second successive time, your party, under your leadership, swept all 30 seats of your country's legislature. Clearly, we in the New Patriotic Party have much to learn from the Barbados Labour Party. But above all, I congratulate you on steering your country from the status of a dominion to that of a republic, which occurred on 30th November 2021, severing all formal connections to the former British colonial power. Barbados today stands proud and united before the world. Relations between Ghana and Barbados date back centuries, founded originally on the tragic platform of the barbaric, inhumane transatlantic slave trade, which at Cape Coast Castle, located not too far from here, as one of its major conduits. Over 400 years later, Here we are, this time, sharing a vision of a black world on both sides of the Atlantic, which leverages hard work, enterprise, creativity, and innovation to engage in mutually beneficial trade and investment cooperation that will guarantee the prosperity and dignity of black people the world over. Madam Prime Minister, your presence here with us on our special day is eloquent testimony to the fact that despite the machinations of our common enemies, the bonds between us, that is, those of us on the continent and those of you in the African diaspora of the Americas and the Caribbean, are indissoluble and will in this century grow from strength to strength. The time for the black peoples of the world is here. I wish you a pleasant stay amongst us, madam, even if it is brief. Fellow Ghanaians, before the outbreak of COVID-19, we took the Independence Day celebrations out of Accra, in 2019 to Tamale, capital of the northern region, and in 2020 to Kumasi, capital of the Ashanti region. Both were huge successes. However, because of the rising numbers of COVID infections last year, the celebration was held virtually for the first time in our history. By the grace of Almighty God, in the effective management of the pandemic by government, we currently have a very low active case count, which has permitted these celebrations to take place in Gwe. It has been a captivating event, and I'm very happy to be here and grateful for the cooperation of the traditional authorities, led by the Omahe of the Ogua traditional area, or Saberima Kwesi Ata II, who has been our gracious host. Saberima, Yedawo, Eni Gwema Asepa. Cape Coast was once the administrative capital of the then colonial Gold Coast. The first Supreme Court was sited in Cape Coast. The first people to gain formal Western education in our country came from Cape Coast. It is the home of the first primary school, the Philip Kwaku School, established in the 18th century in 1776. It is the home of the first girls' secondary school, Wesley Girls High School, established in 1836. And is the home of the first boys' secondary school, Infansipim School, established 40 years later in 1876. Subsequently, many renowned secondary schools were established in Cape Coast. I doubt if there exists anywhere else in the world a town that has the same concentration of top secondary schools as there is in Cape Coast. Indeed, it is not for nothing that Cape Coast is rightly described as the Athens of Africa. Today is a celebration of our nation's independence, and one region that has epitomized both our association with colonial rule and the ensuing struggle to liberate ourselves from its yoke is the Central Region. Indeed, the Portuguese, the earliest Europeans to visit us, first arrived in the Gold Coast in the 15th century, setting up shop in Cape Coast. The years that followed witnessed battles for control of Cape Coast, with the Swedes and the British finally taking over the territory. What ensued in the aftermath of this takeover was the transformation of Cape Coast into the place from where our resources, human and natural, were transported. Through the forts and castles dotted along this coastline, our ancestors were sold into slavery in faraway lands and were forcibly engaged to create wealth and prosperity for the peoples of the lands to which they were sent, wealth from whose enjoyment they were largely excluded. It was thus inevitable that the first momentous steps towards the making of modern independent Ghana began here in Cape Coast in 1897, when the great Ghanaian patriots Jacob Say, J.B. Brown, Joseph Casely Hayford, John Mensah Saba, and their colleagues assembled in the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, situated in Cape Coast, and managed, through their determination and advocacy, to mobilize public opinion to resist the takeover of our lands by the greedy hands of British imperialism in the Crown Lands Protection Bill, thereby helping us to maintain control of our lands and insulating us from the fate of the sequestration of lands that occurred in southern and eastern Africa, with such unhappy consequences for the indigenous peoples that reverberate till today. Exactly 50 years to the day after the inauguration of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, on 4th August 1947, the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC of blessed memory, the nation's first political party, was born in Salpon, some 50 kilometers from here, to spearhead the battle for freedom and independence. 4 months later, in December 1947, Kwame Nkrumah, soon to assume the leadership of the nationalist movement, returned home upon invitation from his decade-long sojourn abroad to join the convention and take up his responsibilities as its General Secretary. 6 months after the launching of the UGCC, the senseless Christians bore crossroads shootings and killings on 28 February 1948 by the colonial police of Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte, who were part of a group of unarmed ex-servicemen marching peacefully to present their grievances to the colonial governor, provoked the wrath of the nation, resulted in countrywide riots, and deepened immeasurably the demand for the independence of our nation. This led to the arrest by the colonial authorities of the UGCC leaders, Joseph Boachi Dankwa, Emmanuel Obechebi Lamte, Edward Akufo-Addo, Ebenezer Akwaje, William Ofori-Atta, Kwame Nkrumah, the legendary Big Six, who were held responsible for the riots, and to the institution of the Watson Commission to investigate the circumstances of the riots. The recommendations of the Watson Commission to the British Labour government of Prime Minister Clement Attlee helped construct the path for the attainment of independence. These and other events, including the founding of the Convention People's Party and the declaration of positive action, led to the emergence of Kwame Nkrumah as the leader of the nationalist movement in succession to J.B. Dankwa. He led it with verve, and on 6 March 1957 stood at the Old Polo Grounds to make the historic declaration of Ghanaian freedom, for which the Ghanaian people will forever remain in his debt. I've recounted a short but significant portion of our nation's history and the journey towards independence to reinforce the importance of the theme of this year's celebration: working together, bouncing back together. This theme imposes a duty on all of us to embrace the essence of what it means to be a Ghanaian and to love Ghana. Our forebears worked together with the belief that Ghana, once free and independent, could make her own unique contribution to the growth of world civilization and be able to generate wealth and prosperity for the masses of her people. They put away ethnic, political, and religious affiliations and came together to work for the liberation of the Gold Coast from colonial and imperial domination. Each one of them contributed their quota towards the free, independent Ghana in which we now live. All of us gathered here, and millions out there, inside our borders and outside, shared this love for the place we call home. What is that ultimate statement of patriotism? Most people would say, my country, right or wrong. In fact, as the distinguished orator and Senator Carl Schultz elaborated in the 19th century, my country, right or wrong. If right, to be kept right, and if wrong, to be set right. When we make wrong choices, we must act to set things right. When those put in charge of affairs, of running affairs, get it wrong, we must have the courage to say so. That is our patriotic duty and calling. But we must not at any given opportunity run down our nations merely simply because we can, or to achieve a narrow parochial and partisan interest. The democratic system of governance which we have chosen to operate acknowledges that we are bound to have differences of opinion on the way forward for our nation. We must, however, recognize that the expression of those diverse views should not undermine the fundamental unity we need to forge to advance the cause of our nation. In the words of our unofficial national anthem, composed by the legendary Ephraim Amu, "Edru me ene wonsoso si ebeyebi atwaso." Fellow Ghanaians, for the last 2 years, we have seen as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the disruption of the global supply chain and the global financial system, the opening up of a huge funding gap in virtually all countries, the erosion of fiscal space, the widening of the fiscal deficit, and increased public debt levels. Simply put, there are difficulties everywhere in the world. We're seeing increasing global freight rates, rising crude oil prices, which means rising fuel prices, rising costs of items on the market as a result of inflationary pressures, and the depreciation of currencies. And as much as these are happening in all countries around the world, the government of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has not thrown up its hands in despair. We're not looking for the easy way out. We're determined to become even more self-reliant and in the process find Ghanaian solutions to Ghanaian problems. As already we have made considerable progress towards this end. Today, Ghana is a net exporter of foodstuffs thanks to the success of the program for Planting for Food and Jobs. Free senior high school is ensuring money or the lack of it is no longer a barrier towards the attainment of a minimum of senior high school education for every Ghanaian child, an important tool for the development of our nation. We are processing more of our cocoa in Ghana than at any other time in our history. The One District, One Factory initiative, which has seen the ongoing construction of 278 factories across the country, 106 completed, is part of the foundation on which we're building a comprehensive industrialization program, inspired by the development of strategic anchor industries, such as the emerging automotive industry and the coordinating exploitation of our bauxite and iron resources. We have opened up this country through the constructions of roads more than any other government has in the history of the Fourth Republic. Our efforts at digitization are improving transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the public sector and helping to accelerate the growth of our economy. Fellow Ghanaians, these and more are what we have used tax revenues for over the last 5 years. In all your communities, villages, towns, constituencies, and regions, you have seen your taxes at work, whether it is the construction of a classroom block, a clinic, a small town water facility, a factory, or a road. And we will continue down this path. I will not renege on my pledge to help create a progressive and prosperous Ghana. I, however, cannot do this alone. I need the backing of each and every one of you if we are to bounce back together and build a Ghana beyond aid. There is one matter of overriding significance which we can no longer ignore. That is the pressing need to increase dramatically our domestic resource mobilization and reduce and eliminate our dependence on foreign savings. Today, there's no question but that the most important thing on most people's minds is the need for accelerated national development to improve living standards and generate jobs for the mass of the people, especially the youth. On that question, we are all agreed. However, not everyone is ready to take the next step to the recognition that accelerated national development can best take place with a considerable increase in revenue mobilization. And very few will then take the next further step to accept that revenue mobilization will happen principally through taxation. In our society, we have unfortunately not yet reached the stage of universal acceptance of taxation as a matter of public good. But truth be told, our tax to GDP ratio of 12.2% compares unfavorably with our peers the world over. Less than 10% of the Ghanaian population, i.e. 2.4 million people, carry the direct tax burden of 30.8 million people. The Asian tigers whom we envy and emulate and want to emulate finance their rapid development from their own savings. We need to do the same and alter our fiscal profile. We must move Ghana to a situation beyond aid. That is a Ghana which is no longer dependent on the benevolence or charity of foreign taxpayers and donors for the management of our public finances. It is doable. We want to transform Ghana into a world-class economic hub which will benefit every single Ghanaian. On this day, when we're gathered to celebrate 65 years of freedom and independence, let us continue to pay homage to those who dare to dream of this beautiful, diverse nation made up of different peoples. And let us continue to give praise, as we should, to those who made huge sacrifices to make possible 6 March 1957. Above all, let us guard jealously the peace and stability we are enjoying. There are some restless spirits amongst us who, seeking to exploit the current difficulties confronting the nation, claim to have lost confidence in our democratic system to effect a peaceful constitutional change in the governance of our state. Either the absence of faith in the prospects of a democratic alternative to the current government, or their impatience to wield executive authority are the factors driving their appetite for the shortcut of military intervention. Whatever be the case, they seem ready to jeopardize the hard-won reputation of our country as a beacon of democracy and stability in Africa, and indeed in the world, in order to gratify their personal ambitions which show little or no respect for the capacity of the Ghanaian people to change, when necessary, their government peacefully through the ballot box, something they have done on 3 separate occasions in the 29-year life of the Fourth Republic. The great majority of us who are committed to democratic values and democratic institutions will continue to resist the claims of these adventurers and employ all legitimate means in a democracy to maintain our free, open system of governance, which is respectful of human rights, the rule of law, and the principles of democratic accountability. Ghana deserves to put the initial decades of perhaps understandable turbulence and instability in her history firmly behind her, to enable the development of our nation to proceed in conditions of freedom, order, peace, and stability, which have been the happy hallmarks of the Fourth Republic. West Africa is also currently faced with a worsening security situation in the Sahel, with recurring terrorist attacks which are moving gradually southwards in the region towards the coastal states. All our efforts at transforming the Ghanaian economy and putting our nation onto the path of progress and prosperity will be rendered futile if we are unable to secure our borders and give you, the Ghanaian people, the serenity to go about your daily activities in an atmosphere of peace and security. Hence, the necessity of bolstering the capacity of our security services, a goal which has to be achieved. As President of the Republic, I assure you, the government is determined to do everything within its power to guarantee the nation's territorial integrity and ensure the safety of citizens. I urge you, my fellow Ghanaians, also to cooperate with our security services and give them maximum support in the discharge of their important duties. When the citizenry and security services work together, we can be assured of our safety and security, and then we can channel all our energies and resources into building a progressive and prosperous nation, the Ghana of our dreams. I do not underestimate the challenges with which we are confronted, but I am strong in my conviction that we can overcome them. I know we are capable. I believe in the can-do spirit of the Ghanaian, the first people in sub-Saharan Africa to rid ourselves of the shackles of imperialism and colonialism. Ours is a bright future, and I'm confident that the years ahead of Mother Ghana will be great. Let us work together and bounce back together. The battle is the Lord's. In conclusion, let me announce to the good people of Cape Coast that in commemoration of this occasion, government has decided to rehabilitate in full the Philip Kwaku Boys School, the first primary school in our country, as its anniversary gift to Cape Coast. Fellow Ghanaians, happy 61st Independence Anniversary celebration. May God bless us and our kith and kin in the Caribbean and in the Americas. And may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.